Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to have you here with us in beautiful Cannes. Maybe you could just begin with, yeah, we're literally right in the centre of it, aren't we? What a backdrop. Maybe you could just begin with a brief introduction to the film. For people who don't know anything about the story, what can they expect?
My name is Tyler Taormina, and I wrote and directed the Christmas Eve in Miller's Point film. What you can expect from it, it's a sort of exuberant comedy about a family undergoing their annual Christmas Eve tradition, which has been decades and decades in the making. They don't realize this at the beginning of the film, but their ancestral home has been sold.
Like casting your mind back, it's your third feature, why you wanted to kind of go to this Christmas movie set in Long Island. I know it's almost semi-autobiographical, perhaps drawing on some of the characters you grew up with there, kind of like a snow globe kind of Christmas movie. Why did you want to make that?
I find one of the big motivations for me to make this movie was a sort of emotional inability to watch home movies, from my childhood. I just can't watch them. It's too hard. And I realized, oh, you can use cinema and just reanimate them. I feel like I conquered time passing in this way. It was such a incredible experience to be able to do such a thing. Why Christmas? I don't know, isn't that just such a beautiful way to explore family and our proclivity or our ability to be able to just celebrate and have a good time? Some years on Christmas it's so easy to just have the best time, and others it's challenging. So I'm just drawn by how dynamic the whole holiday is for such a large mix of people. In my family, very large Christmas. So, yeah.
And Sawyer, tell us about the role that you play, and when you read that script for the first time, what really jumped out to you, why you wanted to get involved?
The writing just came off the page. It was written really well by Eric, and I was a huge fan of Ham on Rye, and I loved the work that Ty did, and I was excited about his third feature. And when I read Splint, his first name was McShane. Everyone knows a guy like that, where in high school he never quite grows out of his personality. He sort of gets stunted in time, and he kind of represents in the story the ghost of Christmas, because he reflects onto the other characters what it would mean if they went too far away from their home life, if they branched too far away and they never quite left and grew up, but Splint still has hope. And that, again, that's the holiday spirit, is hope and gratitude and excitement about the future. So it was such a complicated character that we worked on together, and I'm excited to share it now with the world.
And it's very much an ensemble cast, and you've got sort of all these intergenerational dynamics, lots of sort of quirky characters in the mix. How did you decide on who you're going to put together for your cast? And is it kind of coincidental? You've got two, Francesca and Sawyer links to kind of cinematic history, in terms of their family links too.
It's 100% coincidental, actually. The way in which we cast the film was basically two-pronged. One of them was through Backstage, the casting website, where the casting director, Margot Chester, and we looked at about 100,000 headshots, literally. And if your headshot looked like it had a little bit of magic in you, all I need is a teeny bit. I want to know more. And that was one part of the casting. The other was what really proves that this is a family affair. We basically asked ourselves and each other and my team, who do you know that could be in this movie? And that didn't mean anything specifically. A lot of times it meant, do you have an interesting grandma? You have a funny cousin? I don't care if they don't act. In fact, it's good if they never acted. Bring them. I want to meet them. And that's how we met Sawyer, and that's how we met Francesca, and that's how we met everyone else on the that wasn't poached from Backstage, basically, was in this way of us just tapping into the people around us.
And for you, Sawyer, working with this amazing collection of people, mindful to Francesca, the other people involved, and working with Tyler, it looks like it must have been so much fun. What were some of the highlights of the experience?
To be able to walk onto a set and to feel totally comfortable and totally relaxed, and to be able to take that as an actor, to not have to feel any sort of pressure to put on anything more than what needs to be done in that moment. And I felt like we all dropped in pretty effortlessly because of the environment that this man put together. It takes a team, it takes a village to make one of these films, and just from the first conversations we had, there was a familiarity with you. I knew we'd hit it off, and so we had some fun. It was pure joy on set. Yeah.
And in terms of your approach to the look and feel of the film, I mean, it really is with that sort of Christmassy feeling, which is sometimes quite hard to sort of pinpoint what it is, but it's something that's like a collection of nostalgia, the decorations, which, you know, aren't there for any other really reason, just the celebration, you know, the music. So how did you want the film to look and feel? And, you know, I think in one of your other interviews you were saying less focus necessarily on narrative, but more kind of like poetry and these collections of images which kind of evoke in other people watching their version of Christmas.
Yeah, my ideal audience reaction, if there is one, is that they melt with happiness. And then maybe they'll be a little bit like existential at some point. So those things were, I think, executed, or we strive to execute them through using reference imagery through like Coca-Cola advertising of the 50s and movies like Home Alone and I don't know. It's just a lot of. We even used a lot of photographs from our own homes in years past, just to really make this as rich of a visual landscape as possible.
And I know you sort of work on kind of like a no frills kind of approach, and it's sort of about kind of getting everyone to bring whatever they can to set, asking people from the community to sort of pitch in, even with the fire engines, you know, like bringing all their decorations. So, you know, I guess partly that's to do with budget constraints, but on the flip side, actually it sort of adds into the creativity and the fact that everyone's bringing so much heart and soul to the project.
Yeah, not only was it a budgetary thought, but it was also just so sort of endemic to the project. I mean, this is a movie about, it's studying a community, it's studying a family, and it was really a family affair through and through. There's so many, it's truly ended up being a reflection of my town and of the people in it. And they were so involved in it, and that's the only way I think it could have been, honestly. Yeah, at the end of the day, this is really just, it's sort of anthropological in a way, this movie. It's like an affectionate way to look at the world, you know, and to include them in it is the only way. It's that part of the process. Like, people have their, you know, like, you probably think about it. You probably have that piece of memorabilia if you celebrate Christmas or whatever trinket may be lying around your house that it means so much to you because it's had so many years. This is like dozens of people's one article all in one house. It's pretty incredible if you think about it.
From the actor's point of view, did you feel like you were bringing your own sort of impressions of Christmas, and how did you find that experience, and perhaps being on more of a kind of stripped back kind of production, but the fact that everyone's so invested in it, I guess it brings something quite magical.
It was inspiring to be in an environment where there was a lot of talented folk in the industry who were wanting to create a great story, and they were honoring a story, and they were honoring a team, and you don't need much to create a good story. You just need good people who are all on the same page and are willing to work hard and go that extra mile, and you feel that when you walk on set. And so it forced me to focus and try to bring as much as myself as I could to the part. But it was difficult because the part was pretty far away from who I am as a guy. But we found a way in. Yeah. There's something really hopeful about Splint. He really wants to evolve, although he doesn't. He's getting there. You know, he's working on it. I have hope for Splint. I think next Christmas he's gonna do it. He's gonna branch off and become the guy he's always wanted to become. But yeah, no, it's a joy. It's inspiring. I'm excited for you, man, and for everyone involved in this film. Yeah.
And in terms of the takeaways, like you said, you know, kind of bringing that heartwarming feeling, but, you know, it's also not shying away from the fact that, you know, you can have all the trappings of a great Christmas, but ultimately it is who you're spending it with that sort of makes or breaks it. And there are always those tensions with family and, you know, bringing out those things. There are always going to be different ways of looking at the world between different generations. So it's not necessarily saying that everything's always perfect, but just to recognize that, you know, it can sort of turn on a dime, whether, you know, you have everything set right. It might also be something that can be quite challenging for some people to be with all their family.
That's what I love about your film is that it does honor the imperfections of going back home, and it allows space for people to be who they are, and not try to fight that. And that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Was that something that was important for you to also explore?
Yeah, I think so. I really do see the film as a sort of like a polarity between the womb of home and the outside world. And in this film, it was all meant to be under the same snow globe. I wanted it to all feel wholesome. However, there are very grave differences between the home and the world outside the home. And I think one of them is that the home is such a comforting place, but it's also quite prickly too. I mean, much of life, you don't really take anything completely smoothly. There's always a little bit of that abrasion in embracing life, and family, Oh.
And what does it mean to you to have the film here at Cannes Film Festival? It must be quite funny being here in the sunshine, thinking about Christmas, but also what a wonderful place to be presenting the film.
Yeah, I don't know if I realize it yet. Are we here? Is this? I don't know.
This could definitely be CGI or,
It
a
is. It
backdrop.
is. No, I don't know. It's. I've been in Christmas for like too long. It's been so long we've been working on this film, so I'm sort of immune to it. But I don't know. I mean, of course, I'm incredibly grateful to be here. To me, this is the best place to see films, to learn about films. So to be a part of that is wow. And yeah, I hope that the world sees what we see in it. Yeah.
And for you, what's it bit like being here with this film?
It's been a dream of mine to come and bring a film to Cannes. I'm in shock right now. I'm still taking it all in. I'll be able to process it all when we get back home to New York. I'll be able to all sink in. I'll be journaling about it, but I'm just trying to soak in as much of this experience as I can here in Cannes, as much as I can in Cannes. We'll take it all in Cannes. No, it's fantastic.
And I'm sure you get asked this kind of thing all the time, but how did growing up in a household with someone like Steven Spielberg kind of inform your sort of impression of cinema, and just being steeped in that kind of heritage must be such a gift.
I literally wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the great directors of our past. I think we've all been very inspired by all the generations of directors. We're kind of on sacred ground here. A lot of incredible filmmakers have premiered their movies here. And it's a true humble honor to be in that crowd and amongst such great, talented people. Very humbling.
Were you and Francesca ever exchanging notes about your father's work? No. You go into this kind of conversation?
We crossed paths briefly on set. I think she was wrapping up the day that I was starting my job, so we just kind of missed each other. We're in the same movie, but we didn't quite work together. So I don't know. I'm sure this is
It's like a day on set.
It was a day on set.
And
yeah.
I feel like you guys like, oh yeah, oh hey,
Yeah.
Didn't you guys meet each other in the past?
Maybe we ran into each other in the past. We must have at some point. We must have had a crossover.
And in terms of your next projects, what do you think you'll have taken from this experience into your next one? And I believe you might be working with Michael Sawyer again. Is that right? On something that he might be directing, or?
Yeah, he and I and Eric Berger, the writing partner, we wrote a script together that could be his directorial debut. Or I know he has a few projects in the works, but we just excite each other so much that I think that we are inevitably going to be bouncing around ideas and bringing them to life for years to come. That's kind of the way we talk about it. And in terms of next on my horizons, other than that film, which is called Gummy, which is like a sort of horror comedy, I have a film that I'm really excited about. I haven't written it yet, but I've written the outline. And it's a high school comedy, like a farce comedy, in the style of Blow Up by Antonioni and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, both of those.
Yeah, I fly back to New York on tomorrow because I start shooting a film on Monday. Can't quite talk about it just yet, but you'll hear about it soon.
And have you got anything on your bucket list of, other genres that you'd love to try, or other directors you'd love to work with?
I mean, the list goes on and on. We'd be here all day if I were to list the filmmakers that I love to work with. But there's so many great talented people out there who I love to collaborate with.
Amazing. Well, thank
Awesome.
you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You enjoyed presenting the film here.
Thank you as well. Really
Congratulations on it.
appreciate it.
Thanks so much.